This is Reah, and this is Just the Who of Us, where we talk about a range of topics, including life events, current events, spirituality, entertainment, family relationships, as well as answering listener questions and more.
Welcome back. Today I am reading chapter 8 of my autobiography. What am I calling? This chapter is titled Emotionally Challenged. Chapter 8. And there's only 9 chapters, so it's bittersweet because I'm almost at the end, but I'm very happy to have had the opportunity to share this journey with you all. So we're on the next to the last chapter, but here we go. I titled this chapter Emotionally Challenged because the best way that I can describe my emotional status through the years, both literally and figuratively. My emotions have been a challenge and it has been challenging to express them. When I was little, I probably expressed emotions other than anger, although I don't really remember. So I don't really have many childhood memories. I don't recall much of my childhood at all, actually. Um, I definitely feel like over the years, I generally only expressed anger, or I won't say only now, but anger has very often felt like the most easy emotion to express. And I know that a lot of people can relate to that anger and sadness being the kind of easy emotion. I only expressed affection in sexual relationships. Now, this I don't think is true because at the time writing this book, I had 5 children already, and my children have always been and felt very loved because, I communicate with them, I ask them questions, I check in on them to see how they're feeling and things like that. Outside of sexual relationships, my children probably are the only people that I really showed affection to for a very long time. Um, I haven't really ever been much of a hugger except with my kids and a friend here and there. The hugging part is something I've consistently tried to do more over the years. Thanks a lot, COVID. At the time of writing this, COVID was like a fairly new thing. So, social distancing and all. As a kid, I hallucinated a little more than just having an imaginary friend. The two memories of hallucinating as a kid involved one of those circular things you're calling to and can sit in, like at McDonald's, in the school playground and playing with a few non-human looking friends. So I had imaginary friends when I was in elementary school, but like only in this one particular place. Um, and which I guess since it's still in my mind, I thought they were really there. And the other memory is being choked by Freddy Krueger to the point where my mom, who witnessed it during the car ride, would call me looked like I was actually being choked. So when I was a kid, one of the few memories I have is I was in a car. I think we were on the way to therapy, or maybe she took me to therapy because of this. I'm not really sure. But I feel like I was on the way to therapy and I'm in the car. And I remember feeling like I was physically, like there were hands physically on my neck choking me. And I think I may have said something about Freddy Krueger to my mom. Uh, but those are the details that I remember. So I did watch horror movies as a kid, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know, but I remember that physical feeling. That's one of the details about it that I do remember. Um, I consider this to be an expression of emotion because I was feeling and experiencing something that, while may not have been real to others, it felt real to me. Just like the years I spent rarely showing happy emotions, even when they were in me, because it involved not feeling things that didn't feel real to me, or feeling anger because it felt real to me. I understand that the emotions I experience may stem from relationships that I have and don't have with my biological father, rather than this being caused by my issues. I can't blame everything on daddy issues.
Once we become conscious adults, accountability has to be redirected toward ourselves on how we live our lives moving forward and not on what we can use to hold us back. Past issues can hold so much emotion that can hold us so far back in life. Having a person make you feel like you will never be worthy of everything life has to offer can cause you to avoid feeling emotion, even from people who do not cause those feelings of low self worth. So, as we know, it's easy to direct our anger toward people who didn't cause that actual anger. Sometimes I brought a lot of things on myself. I never did drugs, but I made stupid decisions that led to abortion, failed relationships, hypocrisy, and the wrong attitude about life because of the emotions I carried around and refused to deal with. If you know me now, you love me, you understand me. I do everything I can to help others while still keeping my family first. I'm relatable and I'm almost always, if not always, nice to you. If you knew me 10 years ago, you probably mostly liked me because I was down for almost anything involving alcohol once the kids went to bed. If you knew me 15 years ago, you probably either didn't really like me because I was straight up acting like trash, or you liked me because I was a mess and you probably liked what you got from me because I didn't care about myself to have boundaries. My way of excusing my behavior was that I only partied if I had a sitter or if my kids weren't home. This was a viable excuse because I previously drank on my porch with friends when the kids were home, but only after I put them to bed. So like a lot of like a lot of us do, our habits have stipulations and making them not addictions or making them, oh, I only do this at this time. I only do this in this situation, kind of thing. And guess what? It's still a habit. It's still an addiction, even if you are making rules for it. Um, I guess comparing yourself to others makes you feel like what you're doing is less harmful. I had friends who drank around their kids, so saying, well, I don't drink until the kids are in bed, or I only have people over to drink when the kids aren't home, made it made it not as bad as another person. So, like putting stipulations on my issue or my habit or whatever, that made it better than someone who didn't have it. I know, a lot of people feel like this. And you may not come out in a minute, you might not come out and say it, but it's true. You know that putting stipulations or rules around your habit makes you feel like you're better than other people do it different ways or who don't have rules or stipulations. Not now. That's not me now. But that was me at this point in my life about like 15 years ago in my mid 20s, late 20s, something like that. Mid 20s, 10, 15 years ago. Anyway, we're not here for a math lesson. So that's not the case now. I know that comparing myself to someone else is no way to excuse, comprehend, evaluate, or account for my actions. I don't like having people at my house often now, really, I guess because I spent too much time having house parties and having people and alcohol at my house that now I just want to enjoy being in a safe place. The only people you'll probably see here are family, one of my kids' friends, kids I babysit who are like family, or Melissa and her kids. Basically, families and people with children. Geez, we are old. Not that that is just something that old people do. We're not old, we're just responsible. You know, we're just not out here doing all the nonsense. We're just not out here doing all the irresponsible things. We're out here making better choices. We're out here being responsible. That's what we are. Doesn't make us old, it makes us responsible. I handled a lot of things wrong. I handled a lot of things right once I got my life together. At one point, I was just kind of going through life day to day.
Now I have a plan, partially because I'm finally finding spiritual balance, and I have the right people in parts of my life that they should appropriately be in. I went through the the phase, the promiscuous phase, the self-destructive phase, the new Christian phase, the curious about God and spirituality outside of Christianity phase, the life reorganization phase, the mom of little kids phase, the married phase, the divorce phase, the mom of older teens phase. Now I'm at this spiritual growth mom to all ages working to do marriage right this time, self-reflective, self-love, self-confident stage of life. I lived in an areas with a fancy name. I own a pair of Crocs, although I haven't brought myself to wear them in public. I drink a lot of water instead of caffeine. I don't smoke. I don't drink Sparks, alcoholic energy drink. For those of you who don't know what that is, almost every time I get in the car without kids or without leaving for work, I frequent the gym. I'm earning my fourth college degree, and I'm in a healthy relationship. So these are all just some kind of self-reflective things about myself at the time of writing this book. So again, this was about 5 years ago. So I was finishing earning my holistic mental health and wellness counseling degree. I didn't drink alcohol. I cut a lot of things, alcohol, caffeine, smoking, all the unhealthy things out of my life. And I still all of those are still out of my life. Um, now minus the gym part, younger me would absolutely hate the current me, and I'm okay with that. Younger me would not think that I am fun, and maybe it's just because I'm older and I'm more mature. But I know plenty of people who are still doing all the things that younger self thought was cool, even though they are my age, and that's just not me. However, if that is still you, maybe sometimes we just need the right support. I know people who have made changes, including myself, that I would have made maybe earlier if I had the right support system. So, I don't judge anybody as long as we are consistently working for the better. But I don't think there is room for judgment. Mhm. Now, I still have a long way to go financially, mentally, physically, spiritually, but I hope that by reading this, I have given you some hope that if a mess like me can have grown into something her past self would hate, then you can absolutely progress in this. Everything your current self will hate your future self for leaving behind. I'm still learning to express and process emotion. A few years ago, my mom bought me also the absolute best cake I've ever received. She was so excited to see my reaction. I just looked at it and said, "Oh, thanks." She was so hurt that I was not overjoyed. I was overjoyed, but just on the inside. I responded in a way that didn't show it, but that was me and emotion. Even now, I probably don't emotionally respond to some things like I should or like people expect me to. After crying over so much death, attending funerals that are full of people who didn't show they gave a crap while the person was alive, or dealing with people who always wanted something from me or didn't keep their promises, just makes expressing happiness a little blah unintentionally. It's almost like you forget how to do it sometimes. Like most experiences and part of our lives, it made me focus more on my emotions and allow myself to be emotional, which I do now, even though sometimes I just want to push it back down because crying over death again and again is so painful. Which is another reason too that we oftentimes don't express certain emotions or we don't like to be emotional. Sometimes it can be painful. Like I don't want to cry every time somebody dies because there was a period in my life where people were constantly dying and not just from things like old age. It becomes painful. Sometimes you don't want to keep doing it. Like most experiences and parts of our lives, it made me focus more on my emotions, allow myself to be emotional, which I do now, even though sometimes, yeah. At least now I know that I can have platonic relationships with people and not just platonic sexual relationships because there's absolutely a difference because I deserve to care about myself, my body, my mental health, and how others affect it and how I affect it by how I interact with others. Fast forward, my kids wrote a ton of things about me on our back patio this year for my birthday. So this was my 35th. My mom drove me out to bring me a cake, even though she had to stay in the car because of COVID.
And my husband got nothing but cakes delivered and so many other amazing things for my 35th birthday. My sister from another mister made dinner of my choice in September to celebrate me publishing a book, um, Melissa. I made sure I expressed happiness, love, and gratitude, and I even cried a little. People deserve our emotions. Having emotions is okay, healthy even. Even with writing, I go through times where a chapter I write takes so much emotion from me that I end up sick or can't write for weeks until I can build up the courage to change channeling that much emotion again. Topics like my biological father are easy to write again about, but my adoption story took so much energy and emotion that I was sick for 3 weeks after writing it. And nothing medically helped my current being sick, respiratory virus, which means the virus developed from stress. Because being stressed out by feeling emotions that came from rape, abandonment, judgment, racism, and failure just would be more harmful than dealing with things by being numb to them. Of course, this was a young, damaged way of thinking, which I now know. I used to be opposed to therapy, talking to people about life and expecting someone to actually care. If your own family thinks you're shit, then why would anyone else think you're anything unless they're getting something from you? Mostly men, also women, friends, family members, the fathers of your children. Even when people get things from you, they probably still won't meet your expectations. So why have them? Expectations can't be failed if they don't exist, right? Wrong. People are people and they make mistakes. Some people aren't worth your time and some people are worth all of it. Realistically, if I expected something in return from half the people I have given it to, I would be let down consistently still today. And I do get let down. I'm still working on managing my expectations of people. Sometimes what I think is just the basic can be unrealistic. um, we also have to determine what are people capable of? What are we asking from them? What are they capable? Are they capable of giving us what we're asking for? Um, Partially because people cannot always give something back, which is why that we are helping them in the first place, and partially because expecting to receive something back that shouldn't be our reason for doing things. I wanted to start a nonprofit not too long ago. Then I realized that I can't help everyone, and it would make me feel like a failure not to be able to help someone who comes to me personally because I present myself as being able to help them. That is the reason I do the things I do and involve myself where I can as an individual instead of joining some of the organizations I've been suggested to join. I can't let people down when they need me. I also realized that starting an organization is an amazing thing to do, and I know two people in the area who started their own. Their business information is available in the back of this book with other resources. I also understand that people are starting small businesses. Oh, that I understand that more people are starting organizations and small businesses, and I wish everything could be free. I also understand that we have to make a living to take care of our families, and sometimes we can't give everything away for free and still take care of our families. One day, I hope to be in a position where I can do more for free because I have secured financial success to take care of my family and still help a ton of other people. Emotions can control this aspect of life as well. And although I've always tried to help others where I can, it took me a while to understand that I had to balance my emotions when it came to what I'm capable of, what is expected with certain responsibilities, and where I have to draw boundaries for myself. Our emotions can affect our boundaries, which is also something I had to learn later in life. And it's also something that has been a part of my business journey because I have to learn that I can't overextend myself and give people things for free or help other people's businesses to a point where it takes away from me focusing on my own. Um, kind of, and I say I'm still learning because I was in a kind of recent situation that when the situation came to end, it ended at a different time than I planned to end it, before I could get to a certain place. And after doing so, I realized that
oh, I really have been being taken advantage of. Like my husband had told me in the past, but I was so focused on all this person needed me to do for their business and how becoming an asset to their business had kind of taken away from me growing my own. And so parting ways was a necessary. It was necessary, a necessary change, although it was painful um, at the time because it was unplanned. It wasn't on my terms, and it wasn't something that I have been able to do in a way that I could prepare myself for. But my boundaries were being crossed, and it it needed to end, and I didn't recognize that before the end of it. So it's still something that I'm learning about, but there's been plenty of times where business opportunities have come up and I've said absolutely not because you're not going to compensate my worth or you're tripping. Do you want me to do things I'm not willing to do or you're not going to pay me you you're either not going to pay me what I'm worth or your expectations are too high or maybe my expectations have been too high it with certain things as well. And so it's something I'm learning personally with certain family relationships, and it's something I'm learning in business that, you know, sometimes you have to set boundaries, and those boundaries might be difficult to set, but your self-worth, your mental health, and your dignity are far more worth the discomfort. I think that exploring our emotions and allowing ourselves to be emotional can change our lives. I'm not saying we should cry over everything, but if something is sad, then get your freaking cry on. Who cares? I think where the unhealthy part may be is when we're mad cries and we're crying a lot, which means we're mad a lot, which means there's something going on that needs attention. I think there's a difference between crying over things and crying at things. I've definitely cried over things. Now I cry more at things on TV or things that my kids talk about that have to do with neglected peers or abandoned and struggling friends. I also express joy, happiness, love, worth, and self-love and self-worth. Self-worth. I express positive emotions, try to express negative emotions, less outbursts and less physical aggression. I try to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I yell and curse when I'm mad. Sometimes I remind myself that my anger that exists in the moment won't be present tomorrow when the memory of me yelling and cursing exists. I pay attention when I'm present. If I make a mistake, I try to work on it and be better about it. One thing that I'm very big on is apologizing to my children and teaching them how to apologize and acknowledging when we make mistakes because we're human when we make mistakes, but just because we're parents doesn't mean that we don't acknowledge that. Just because I'm a parent doesn't mean that I'm always right, not by any means. Um, I expect respect, and part of that is teaching to give respect. So if I'm not teaching you how to respect me by teaching you how to apologize when you make mistakes, then why would I expect, you to do it for me? Um, I recognize that I can do that now. I'm worth it. I can express emotion, that I'm not weak, worthless, crazy, scared, or I'm just working to succeed at who I am, and I'm happy with that. I deserve it, my kids deserve it, and my society deserves it, and my future deserves it, and the reader of this book deserves it. Catering to and managing our emotional health is the perfect solution to our emotional challenges. And that, my friends, is the end of it's not showing up. Let's see. Okay, there we go. That is chapter 8 of Dirt on My Clothes. And if you haven't caught up, go back and watch chapters 1 through 7. Chapter 9 is the next chapter, and it's the last chapter. and I'll be going over that in the next week or two. My plan is to have all the chapters out by my birthday, the beginning of May, so that I can, get the videos out everywhere and really start trying to push book sales around my 40th birthday. So thank you, as always, for being here. And please, by all means, let me know if you have any questions, comments, anything you would like to talk about, anything that you may be struggling with, or something that you're like, hey, I can relate to this. Uh, Please let me know. Email me, leave me a comment on the website, philology.net, or um, email me, reahdr@philology.net. You can also purchase the books on philology.net. There are original first edition copies available, very limited amount of those. And then by now, my second edition should be out. That's the one that I'm really going to be pushing because there's things that in the first edition, I worked with the publisher and there were some things that weren't thoroughly edited. So, I yeah, so that copy should be out by now, which that one's the one, the basic copy that I'll be pushing everyone on social media and everything like that. So make sure you get your copy. And although we are almost at the end of the book, I'm still going to do more things where I'm going to be talking about the chapters in the book because, I'm really going to be trying to push the book out for sales now that I've kind of talked about it and everything. And now that I'm re-editing it, I'm going to be really pushing it out. So it's not too late to get your copy. If you're just tuning in now and you enjoyed the chapter, but you haven't listened to any of the others or read the book, go get the book, read read the book up through chapter 7. Watch those videos, come back and then follow along with us through chapter 9 or read through chapter 7, 8, and then come back and follow along with us with the book in chapter 9. There's a lot of stuff in here it was very difficult to write about and to talk about and everything. And I really hope that by doing so, that I'm able to help you, the listeners, get through really difficult things in your life. It's something that I thrive to do in my career, but it's also something that, as a writer, as a podcaster, as a public speaker, as a mom, like we go through shit, and sometimes we just need somebody who understands us. Just one person. It doesn't even have to be the exact same situation. It could just be, oh, that sounds similar to my situation. Oh, I've never been in a situation like that, but someone I know has. I hope that hopefully you can relate to something in here, or, someone can relate to something in here and it really sticks out to you and gives you some kind of encouragement for your own life or theirs. And that's really my goal. So thank you for being here. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, leave me all the comments, all the things you want to know. If you have questions about other things, leave them, and I always respond. And thank you for being here. Bye. Check us out on YouTube at Reah Higgs, ReahHagues. You can also keep up with us on Instagram at Just the Who Podcast.